Okay, let's call the meeting to order.
Agnes Varnarski,
Present.
Dana Syvertson,
Here.
Ed Madden,
Present.
John Kamish,
Here.
Peter Hahn.
Here.
I'm Jill Moskell. Seth Marcus is absent, but we still have a quorum.
Yes. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting of September 12th.
I make the motion that we approve the excellent minutes that Jill had crafted.
Second?
Second, anybody? Second.
No. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, minutes are approved. Old business, volunteer workday schedules and seed collection Wednesdays. So we've had a really great turnout. Our last seed collection Wednesday was yesterday. We had 10 people show up. We've been collecting a lot of seeds, doing a lot of great work around the slough. Now our next work day, our next seed collection work day, I'm going to reach out to St. Al's and see if we can collect some seed from their prairie out front for the prairie cord grass.
What's it called?
The cord grass, prairie
Okay.
cord grass.
We're also looking to add a special work day, and I sent out a small email, not to the general email blast, but to volunteers that are regulars and to all the commissioners to announce on Wednesday, the 16th at Commonwealth Edison Prairie, that there are areas in the East Prairie that we are looking to herbicide and brush cut and take down before the ComEd burn, so that after it's been burned, we can put down seed and get good seed soil contact, and we don't have to worry about competing with the stuff that's bad that's there now. So,
And this would be in the sections that were not originally 2 years ago, like fixed at the edges where by the neighbors, so we would basically be reseeding those areas.
so there's more information about that later on in the agenda as well, but just to give you that a heads up.
Can you repeat that again? You said the two sections.
Well,
The
basically the
sections that were-
sides that buffer up to the residents' houses that some people have been complaining about have been more weedy.
Oh,
We're
okay.
going to take that out and basically repopulate it, reseed it. Did you want to mention the Fermilab with that?
No,
No,
we'll
later,
do that
okay.
later.
All right. Okay. Any questions about that or comments?
Well, you mentioned the seed collection work days, but what about our regular volunteer work days? One was rained out.
One was rained out, and the next one is,
The next one is a week from tomorrow.
a week from this Sunday, because it's not,
The next workday is, hold on, it would be the 20th.
the 20th. I don't have a plan yet. It depends on, what's going on, if we've collected enough seed, and it could be either the slough or one
Or
of
if
the
there's more
prairies.
work to do at the
At
ComEd Prairie.
ComEd, or even the remnant. If it's going to be burned, then we might want to clear out some brush from there. We still have time. Anybody else? No? Okay. The Girl Scouts oak tree planting. Peter, you want to give us an update on that?
Yeah, I believe we're up to, I think originally they wanted to plant 25, and we're well over half, probably approaching 75%. I think they're just about done at Morava. They might need one more tree at Morava, and we've been planting over at the slough. We just put in 4 bur oak yesterday. They look really good. The stakes are pretty impressive, so you can see them from a distance. So when we do go in there and burn, they'll be protected,
Right.
and we'll be able to see them easily. So, yeah, so far everything looks pretty good. Just have to keep up on them, and they're mulching as they go and watering, so, and cages, so they should be all right.
Great.
Yep.
Anything else to say about that? No? Okay. Illinois Prairie Week, September 14th to 20th, the outcome.
It was Prairie Week. We started off with the bird walk. That was, the first bird walk was really nice. We had 3 days of seed collection, and then that was pretty much it. So next year, probably try to align ourselves to do the same thing.
Okay, Prospect Heights Public Library Park District Programs, Nature Speaks.
Okay, this coming, it's Tuesday, October 22nd, is Bob Dean from the Center for Neighborhood Technologies. He's going to be talking about urban flooding, and it's a really important issue in Prospect Heights. He is a phenomenal speaker, has lots of solutions, all natural solutions for flood control and flooding on your property. I really want to get the message out to the community. I've asked Peter to see if he could possibly put that in e-news. So hopefully we can get that done there.
And maybe Ed, I don't know if Ed could do a press
And I
release.
just
Oh,
talked to Ed about a press release, and there'll be one more email blast going out next week. I think right now we're about 7 people signed up. So if you haven't signed up and if you're going to be there, please do that so we can get those numbers up.
Well, it'll help if we get a really good flood between now and then, too. 'Cause then everyone will come.
I'm not
Bob is,
wishing for that.
he's an absolutely wonderful speaker, just a captivating guy, and really has a lot of information. I sent out a notice to the city, to the Park District, and to Public Works, to the heads of all those, and asked that everybody please try to make it, because this can affect public policy, and that's part of what they do, is they work with municipalities to develop effective, strategies and planning for flooding on a global basis within a community. So hopefully we'll get a lot of city people to come as well. I think it's highly informational. Bob did say at one point that if the city was interested, he wouldn't be opposed to coming back and making a presentation directly to council. So that remains to be seen, and we'll take it from there.
Okay,
Well, it'd be nice if the alderman could show up and hear this type of thing, you know.
He's working with, he's the executive director of the national organization, but he has projects going on right now, flood mediation projects in Wilmette, Oak Park, and like 3 or 4 other local municipalities. So there's a really good track record with great results to look at, so.
Great.
Well, we may want to directly invite our council members, even though it's in the newsletter and that, just to,
Yeah, I forwarded that
Stress it out.
to Peter this morning and asked him to pass that information on, so. All
All
right,
right.
thank you, Peter. Okay, so in January, we have our next speaker, and that promises to be a good talk as well. Haven't gone beyond that still. There's just no reason yet and too much else going on, so. Fall bird walks. The first bird walk was really terrific. It was a lot of fun. We had the syncopated swimming of the cormorant group. Synchronized. It was syncopated, too. That was a lot of fun. The second walk was low on birds, but high on fun. Mary Lou and Lee Ramsey, that concludes their 4th year of doing bird walks for us, and they've committed to doing the 5th year. So the dates that we have for the spring bird walks will be May 16th and May 30th. That's pretty far out there, but Marcy Glinsky, when we'll be talking about this later, wanted to get that in so they could get that brochure squared away. And then finally, the PHNRC Art Show. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. It turned out very well. It was the reception was well attended. It's going to result in a donation from John and I of $1,000 towards the intern program for next year as a result of that. And so thank you to everybody who purchased work. Thanks to all the people that came. It was a lot of fun, and that's pretty much it.
well, and thank you to you two, too.
Yeah, you did the work.
Oh, well, Agnes.
My first art. I get to-
Well, we should do it again.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Okay. The seed greenhouse program, we have a lot of seed collected already. I mean, half the garage is full of seed. Peter's been collecting like half of, I think, all of the seed, so thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
therapy.
I don't have weights, but like every time we go out, we have anywhere between 3 and 5 pounds collected, and that all adds up, and for sure, we have at least 50 pounds collected of
When did the
different
last
species.
seed collection weigh in at?
You won.
I did.
You
I
did,
got it?
yeah. It was like 4.4, and you had guessed like 4 point, I can't remember, but you
Two.
were 4.25 or something, so you got it. You guessed the correct weight of the seed. And yeah, I mean, we had a really nice turnout. We've had new volunteers come out, and yesterday we had 10 people collecting seed. It was really great. A lot of fun, beautiful day. So we're well on our way. I have already pots with, the rare species. Poplar Creek has reached out to me already if we would grow some things for them next year as well, so. Do we want to talk about Fermilab there, or not yet?
No.
Okay. Okay, so then let's go down to path maintenance at the work sites, and I know Seth had discussed about having like a general plan, and I was supposed to discuss it with the Park District, but I haven't had that meeting yet with them. I do plan on meeting with Christina Ferraro at the end of October, so I'll bring it up to her then. I think it's really for next year to have like a set plan, so I don't have anything new about that.
Okay.
Should we move on to new business then? The treasurer report?
So I passed out the latest, greatest budget numbers from the city. Peter provided that to us just this morning. So as you could see, we've spent a lot of our money, mostly on the interns, and we have about $1,600 left in the budget. And then we will be getting our donation from the Art Show will go in, so that'll add another 1,000. And then we also just received another donation from the Northtown Garden Society. And they wrote a nice letter to Agnes. It says, "Dear Agnes, your trip around the slough was amazing. The work that you have done is a step in the right direction in reclaiming the natural environment. We should all strive to make our communities achieve a balance of nature. Thank you for taking the time to show us your work." And that's from Eva,
Manneberg.
was it?
Manneberg.
Manneberg. So she's the president of Northtown Garden Society, and they came out and toured the area, and Agnes, of course, showed them around, and so they gave us a donation. Yeah, so that's good. And then there's another sheet that's attached to the city budget, and this is just a list of expenses above and beyond what's been pulled out of the city budget, and this is more or less comes out of the Dana and Agnes headquarters, and so these are expenses that we have not drawn basically from our city budget, and it amounts to almost $2,800, as you can see, and still growing. So despite, all these funding and wonderful donations, we're still running short, and so we could always use more donations or more funding from wherever we can find it. Does anybody have any questions about this?
No, it's all pretty straightforward.
So just so we understand, so this is what you guys are personally directly contributing.
So far this year. Yeah.
Right, so that's pretty significant,
Yeah.
And much appreciated, obviously.
That's really like a half a year's worth.
Yeah,
So, so when we tally up everything at the end of the fiscal year, next April, we're going to have some good solid data as far as how much the commission needs to run and work and function and, keep everything maintained and keep our interns on board with us helping out. So.
Do you want to bring up your meeting with Christina about the budget there at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of later on with the
Is-
Park District Board of Directors
Okay,
meeting.
all right. You want to just leave it there?
Yeah, we can leave it there. I just have one question, though, as far as your donation and the Northtown Garden Society, that will have to go into this year, correct? Not next year?
Well, that's a question, Peter, if I understand it, if
If
we
we
want,
want that $1,000 for next year, I'll have to talk with finance to see if we can earmark that and hold that for next year.
okay, otherwise we have to hold
Or
it.
just donate, or you hold it and donate it next year?
Right.
Or we hold it and then donate it closer to May 1st.
Okay. All right, thanks.
So just so we have clarity, when you say next year, you mean next fiscal year,
Fiscal year.
starting May 1st, okay?
2020. But the Northtown Garden Society
So that
check
could
will go
go
to this
down.
year?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that good?
Okay.
Next on the list, we have the comprehensive equipment list and 2020 budget. I'm not really sure.
What was the question?
Well, just under new business, we have the comprehensive equipment list and the 2020 budget. I'm
We
not-
usually start talking about it now, but we don't have to. But we just have our November meeting, and then we don't have a meeting in December, and we start up again in January. So, I don't know, we can defer to November if you like. I just thought we'd start.
Well, I think you make a good point there, and I think John already sort of addressed, you know, as we get closer to the end of this fiscal year, we'll have a better record of what was actually spent, and we can compare that to what was actually funded, and then look at the potential sources of funding, and then have a better idea of what we're doing. I think from an equipment standpoint, we're in really good shape in terms of tools and all the rest of that stuff.
Well, certain things always, we need a few extra loppers and gloves and things like
Right.
that, and herbicide.
There's some maintenance things that need to be done, but by and large, we're good on tools, you know, capital expenditures.
Can we move it, leave it on the agenda for next meeting and try to really dive into it and have a little bit more of a,
Well, I guess I'm slightly confused when we refer to a 2020 budget, but we have a 2020 and 2021 fiscal year. Are we doing two different budgets that are not out of, that are not
No,
in
this
sync
would
with the
be the
fiscal year?
2021.
Okay.
So,
So we actually, I mean, I know we don't, it's not like we need that January 1
No,
no.
for that, but for
soon
the
after.
city planning, which is in the
Yeah, she
spring.
was just trying to be proactive because we don't have a December.
But let's list on there the 2020, 2021 budget.
okay.
Okay, and we'll discuss it maybe in greater detail next time.
Okay.
Okay, fall prescribed burns.
Okay, everybody has received the documents. We had, the burn permit has been submitted to Floyd at the EPA. It is being processed as we speak. We should have it very shortly. We submitted to Peter because of their agenda, item needed to get on their agenda. Request for the 14th, the October 14th, board meeting of council. Peter actually, we saw it is on the agenda for the 14th. So that was effective. We have the prescribed burn request that talks about the areas where we're actually burning. And then we have the site maps for all the burns. So I think everybody's had opportunity to review those documents and what the plan is. And again, this is all subject to, if we don't have the conditions, we don't have the weather, we don't have the ground conditions, things aren't ready to go, this could go into the spring and we would just, the permit covers a full year. So we would look to make it up in the spring if we don't have the right,
If we don't get to it.
or we don't get to it. So I think we need to have a motion to approve it, and then we can move on from there. We also need to do a presentation to the Park District, and I'll send out those documents as soon as we approve it, so.
Well, I make a motion that we approve it, pretty solid plan.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The presentation to the Park District, is that presented before or after receipt of the permit?
It's basically, I'm sending out the same documents to Christina, and then it would be up to her to get back to us whether we actually have to present it at their board meeting,
Okay.
Or if it's just going to be an agenda
or it'll be
item
an agenda item
for
on their.
approval, or however they want to
Right.
approve it. We'll find that out as soon as we send it to them.
Okay.
Mhm. And also, we learned today that, and this is really fantastic, ComEd is going to have Stantec burn not only the Commonwealth Cedar Prairie over off of Elmhurst, but they're also going to burn the Remnant Prairie this year.
For the first time?
For the very first time. So they are in the process of putting together all the permits. They'll do all the notifications. Will be a purely administrative sort of grunt backup resource for them. But they'll handle all the logistics and the, contacting everybody.
Right, and I imagine they'll reach out to the city and,
Right. And we'll help them in doing that. But that's spectacular. Just burning the ComEd Prairie is like $8,000. It's probably at least the same amount to do the remnant. So
but the
both of those
ecological
areas will
value.
just be tremendous. So
What prompted the remnant, I mean, did you have a hand?
the
in
remnant,
Did I have a hand in it? We all had a hand in it because we improved the quality to such a,
Yeah,
to the level that that they're really willing to burn it because it's much higher quality. And if they really do, and I don't know if they're going to have enough time, fall has sort of been a poor burn season to get it all in which case they would do it in the spring, which is fine. But if they are going to do it in the fall, maybe we do a work day where we clear out some of that brush that the fire's not going to get to. That way we can have a more thorough burn. It'll make it easier for them as well.
right. That has actually been on the agenda for them to burn for, 2 years or 2 seasons now. And it's slid 2 seasons, so it's into the 3rd season. And they said they will, if they get the conditions, they'll do it, absolutely.
so that's great. But for any listeners out there on here, you want to explain where the remnant prairie is and why it's so valuable?
Okay.
Just briefly.
Okay, so the Remnant Prairie is right along the railroad tracks. It's actually in Wheeling, along the bike path that is leased by the Park District, the City of Prospect Heights Park District. And it lies along the exact same path as Buffalo Grove Remnant Prairie. And a remnant is basically a prairie that's been untouched. And in this case, it's not a true remnant because when we did a soil survey 5 years ago, we had a soil scientist come out. We did soil core samples of the soil, and it showed different levels of disturbance across the site. But that, of course, could have been just, there's trucks coming in and pipes being put in and all that. So really, somehow that vegetation persisted and remained for the last, couple hundred years since settlement. And so it displays just a really nice mix of prairie plants, grasses, forbs, sedges that you really only see in an area of undisturbed prairie. And so we found that area, and most of the areas that are found are actually along the railroad tracks. That's one of the reasons that remnant prairies have been able to persist, is because when those tracks came in, very frequently they did burn to keep the vegetation away from the tracks many years ago, and somehow these prairies persisted. And also, when ComEd had looked up their historical records, they found that that area was never seeded, because sometimes they do that too, but it was never seeded. So whatever vegetation is there has been there for decades, hundreds of years, centuries. And so we uncovered that, and it was really invaded by invasive plants. There were certain areas where it seemed like it was just 100% teasel. And over the last few years, on very limited basis, really, we haven't been spending that much time, but we've had volunteer work days there and a couple of days that the interns spent out there managing those invasives. And as a result, we've had just a flush of those native prairie plants come back. So like in an area where there was 100% teasel and you thought there was nothing else, all of a sudden there's prairie plants coming up out of the soil that have been there dormant, waiting for that moment, that opportunity to come back. So, and we're talking about a plant that may be, 10 years old, 20, 50, and suddenly it just reappears, and new species too. So it's really,
So it's a treasure chest of native prairie in our backyards, and it's a valuable resource for our seed collection.
Yeah, you can basically say that a lot of the plants that you see in our restoration work has, the seed source has been the remnant berry.
Right.
So it's donated a lot.
So it's, yeah.
And it's important that it's local seed, so it's locally sourced. So it's not seed that came from 100 miles away. It's really just right down the street.
So we're not talking about the sedge meadow, we're talking about the remnant.
As
Where
far
we had a
as,
seed collection about two weeks ago.
exactly.
Okay,
Not to say the sedge mow isn't important,
Correct.
but this one,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay?
okay. Anything else about that?
No.
That's plenty, sorry. Next is the fall prescribed burns, the ComEd grant. So Seth wanted to mention about the ComEd Regions grant and whether we were going to ask to apply. And really, it's the city or the park district that applies for the grant. In the past, we've helped and we've, put down a proposal and helped to implement the grant and everything. So I feel like, we should direct the question to either the city and the park district to whether they're interested in that for
Well, I think
2020.
first of all, we have to agree that we would
Help.
like to pursue it.
Yeah,
Um,
help with it.
We don't know what the theme is for
2020. 2019 was a pollinator focus, and so I printed that up, and
So does this have to apply to a particular project then, like we did the Power Line Prairie, then we did Morava? So then this would have a focus in one of our already existing areas? Or,
It depends.
it depends what the project is.
Depends on the
Right.
project and what it is. They'd like to see a new project started, but if there's a substantial improvement to an existing project,
Right.
then there's a possibility there. For instance, if the category that they choose for next year is accessibility to sites, then it would be well within
But even
the
with-
realm of possibility to actually apply for a grant for the boardwalks at
Yeah.
the slough.
So for example, it says eligible activities, so priority is given to projects that demonstrate significant impact on the surrounding community by increasing the public's access to open space and encouraging their engagement with the project, and active partnerships within the community. So they like entities to work together on a project and then to encourage open space preservation. So for instance, funds may be used for habitat improvements such as installing or improving natural areas, installation of passive recreation such as trails, boardwalks, which kind of goes in with the whole boardwalk idea
Yeah.
too.
That was last year's, though?
That was last year's, but
Yeah.
it's pretty much been the same. That was a
The
pollinator
theme was
focus.
pollinators,
Yeah.
but those were the applications.
So do we know when, the timing of when?
Usually it's
they'll-
March 15th.
When they'll announce what the theme is?
No, but they'll announce it before then. I'm not sure
Yeah,
when.
usually by the end of the year, I think.
By the end of the year,
Okay,
November,
so-
December.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we really kind of need to wait till we know that, right? To make an appropriate suggestion? Because when we go to the city or the park district, I think we need to have a specific plan of what this
Oh,
will
yeah, yeah.
be towards. And
Mhm.
so until
Yep.
we know what the theme is, that's going to drive the ultimate decision on what project to pursue.
Correct.
how long is the application process? Is that like
So you apply in March and you get the answer in June. Then you have 18 months to expend the grant. So you have 18 months to do the project. And then within 2 months of completing the project, you have to report on everything. And it's a matching grant, so whatever the city gives, the ComEd will match. And it doesn't have to be the full 10,000, so like ComEd will give 10,000 and either the city or the park district or both can give the 10,000 in matching funds. But it could be a smaller project, it could be, for 2,000. So there's a lot of different options, but it's great because it's sort of, it's 50% you get.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So the last grant, was that co-sponsored by the city and the park district?
Both of them were co-sponsored by
Okay.
the city.
Yeah, they each
And-
gave 5,000.
So they can each co-sponsor the next one then?
Yes, and they like to see that people are working together on a project.
Now, did volunteer hours factor into that?
No, you cannot use,
Okay.
in-kind services cannot be submitted as a match for this grant.
All right,
The way we did this last time is last time we worked with the park district to identify the project. And then we basically wrote the grant, and then it was given over to the grant writer for the city, and then he submitted it. And Park District and the city jointly funded the match. The first one, I wasn't here when that grant was written, so I don't know
Yeah,
what you
I
can
believe
say.
that the very first one was applied for by the city, and the second one was applied for by the Park District, but both contributed in
Right.
various respects and monetarily too.
So, but really,
That'd be
the first
ideal.
step here is once we know the theme, right? I mean, or are you thinking of certain things that could be,
Well, if you look at the applications,
And
which,
previous-
those are pretty consistent.
Yeah.
They're looking
And
for
the-
access and,
Those have been since 2013, since the grant
Right.
opened, so we can already start to think about ideas, and I believe, you
well, I
know,
think the boardwalk is a really good one.
yeah, it would be. I mean, with interpretive signage and and you can focus it on pollinator habitat too. You can even include, you know, certain specific seeds or plants that
to
you can put
develop
around
certain
the.
areas.
Mhm.
Well, because especially if they're looking for cooperation, well, that would include our commission, you know, even though it is a part of the city, it is,
Remember, we still have Larry's mandate to improve accessibility and enjoyment.
yeah.
I mean, that's still,
Well, it's-
that's still out there.
I
mean,
think it's also a nice area because
As
you,
long as this new council agrees with that,
Right.
they're no longer on the council.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Right, so
Yeah.
just everything that Larry proposed when he was here is just gone?
As long as the other council members are still in favor of it,
Yeah, okay.
but
Is that something that we should ask?
well, are we in favor of it? Because,
you're
first of all,
going to need to have confirmation from the council that they're going to be willing to fund the grant.
right,
Oh, no, yeah, we're talking about a different thing. We're just talking about the concept that Larry last saddled us with.
Yeah,
Reach
that's,
out to the council.
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Well, and I would say whatever
I
of
mean,
that
something
we
we want
agree
to do
with,
anyway, but,
right. Whatever of his proposal we agree with, we should pursue to see if we have support.
Yeah.
Because right now is a non-official or a former official, it's
yeah.
right.
And, you
almost
know,
moot.
this would be a nice project because it can include both city and Park District property, you know, so it can even be straight down 50/50, boardwalk on city property, boardwalk on Park District property, interpretive signage. But
Okay.
I think if we do bring it up to both entities, we should do it like outside of the budget request. So
Mhm.
it's like, it's a separate thing, you know, if they decide that they want our help with it, if it's a project they want to pursue, then they, you know.
Okay.
okay?
So should we discuss it bring it up next time too?
Yeah, but we'll see if we can find out more information about what they're looking for.
Right. Yeah, I can reach out to them and see. I'm sure they have an idea of what next year's guidelines are going to be. Okay. MacArthur Junior High School Science Class Make a Difference Day. So Stephanie Ritter reached out to me, and they have their Make a Difference Day twice a year, and they're having it again this year. And they've decided to do it, I had it written down, on October 20, sorry, October 24th, which is a Thursday, and from 9:45 to 11:15 a.m. And
Did you say 11:15 a.m.?
yes, from
Okay.
9:45 to 11:15 a.m.
That's at
That-
the West Prairie.
It would-
the ComEd Cedar Prairie.
It would be for seed collection. They could walk from school or get a bus from school. It would be seed collection, and if it got rained out, they would be processing seed. We'd be talking a lot about natural areas and prairies. They've done this before at various sites. It's a lot of fun, but the time is,
It doesn't match your days.
it doesn't match my days, and I'm also going to be covering like 3 offices for those 2 weeks. I've already set aside some time, but I mean, I might be able to make it till like 11, but I don't know that I can just push.
I can probably help out on that day.
So if-
I'll see what I can do. It's a bad day for me.
It's a bad day.
Yeah.
And they have so many different activities and so many different other projects that they're sending the sixth graders to, that when they met, this was the day that sort of worked for the others, and so, So let me know.
Yeah, we'll
But
get
it's
covered.
coming up, and, yeah.
Right.
And which, is it the Comment Prairie that they go to?
Yes, the
Okay.
Common
The
Cedar
west.
Prairie.
The west
The
side.
west side, yeah. And then I just wanted to mention here, just because I recently also got contact from Kelly Funk again. You know, we did this whole year-long project with them, and she would like us to come out again or have a field trip on Wednesday, November 6th. And then pending the weather, we would go out to the prairie and collect seeds or talk about the prairie, or we would have an in-class presentation if it was raining or too cold.
And again, is that the Comment Prairie?
Yes.
Okay. And she's with Ann Sullivan, grade 4, right?
Grade 4 and Sullivan,
Mhm.
yes. So we've already,
November 6th?
November 6th, yes.
That's a Wednesday.
hmm And the last time we did it in the morning. The first time we did it, sorry, in the afternoon. The first time we did it in the morning, but some of the kids had to leave for like orchestra practice, and so it would be preferable in the afternoon because of that, so that we could,
Legit. Okay.
so that we can involve most of the kids. We had a really great time last time with them. So if anybody can make it for that, and then,
And then I've got one new item to interject here and see what everybody has to feel about this. 25 years ago, I was one of 3 founding members of the Lycée Français de Chicago. We started out in the Immaculata building on Marine Drive, opened the doors with 145 kids. For anybody who doesn't know, the Lycée system is a complete and total French immersion program. So all the classes are taught in French. They don't speak English. They follow the French national curriculum. And it goes from pre-kindergarten all the way through to what would be the terminal year in high school. They offer the French baccalaureate. They offer the international baccalaureate. This year is the 25th anniversary of the school. There's now 822 kids there from all over the world. They're in their own $22 million LED building. They bought the old Ravenswood Hospital, tore it down, and built the school there. As part of this sort of celebration of the 25th year of the school, Patrick Balson, who is a very dear friend of mine and was the chairperson of the whole startup committee for the Lycée, reached out to me because he knows the work that Agnes and I do. And he's looking to create a project with the school where they can actually do work with native plants. They're looking to install sort of a program, an educational program that's very similar to the things we do with the 4th graders. But they're talking about like parts of their green roofs where that we might be able to do prairie there. There's areas on the grounds where they could possibly do prairies. They're talking about the possibility of doing field trips up here to go through the prairie and then have us come there and do presentations and things. I would personally love to do it. I think it's another feather in a cap for the commission, but I don't want to commit to doing anything without you guys, giving it a high five. I think it could be a tremendous opportunity to further expand all the horizons of the city as well as, impact some more kids. So,
I assume you speak French.
no, not enough to get in trouble.
Well, never mind.
There's a lot of the faculty, most of the kids also speak English, but the functional language in the school is French. So in the case of anything we would do there'd be someone interpreting with us, or I just.
So what's the
my
timeline?
daughter. Sometime this year,
I mean,
going into 2020. 2020 is the anniversary year, so.
it sounds like a great idea.
Sounds wonderful, and the exposure for, our city and this commission, all that would be wonderful, I think. It's a good cause. I mean,
But are we doing this as in a consultant basis, if you will, or are we doing actual physical labor, like we do with our,
Well, I mean, it would be no different than us, going out to to the prairie with the kids here. It would be, I mean, they would come here and do work, you know, like planting plugs, collecting seed, whatever the seasonal thing. I mean, the program has to be defined. There's nothing in place at this point. But I don't, you know, I don't want to even spend 2 ounces of energy on it if everybody's not interested in pursuing it. So that there'd be more definition, there'd be more opportunities to say, no, we don't want to do that as it progresses, but.
Does this run for a year, or is it like one and done, or what are we talking? What's the
Well,
time?
the way Patrick explained it is he's looking to create something that would have a permanent presence on the campus there. And whether or not, you know, the educational component, I think is probably just a year-long project. But the idea would be sow seeds there and get some of the faculty to adopt it and run with it.
Okay.
And then at that point, they would turn more into that they would come here for tours and visits and, you know, sort of more of our traditional sort of thing.
So we'd be in a guidance capacity, if you
Yeah.
will.
And I'd be willing to, you know, take on the lion's share of that myself, just because, you know, it's sort of all connected back to my involvement with the schools. So it's not like I would, you know, ask you guys to be taxed for the volunteers, unless anybody really wanted to. So, any real objections to pursuing it?
It's a good idea. Good idea.
I think it's, as you say, it's good exposure, but it would be good to know their full expectation.
Right, well, I'll be meeting with Patrick, probably in the next, by the end of the month or early November, and so we'll try to put a little more substance to it and then make a better presentation in November.
Okay.
Okay?
Did you say that they occupy the space that where Ravenswood Hospital used to
They
be?
bought Ravenswood Hospital, tore it down and put up the
Yeah.
$22 million.
I think I know where that area
Yeah,
is.
it's on Wilson Avenue and Damon.
Yeah. I know where that is.
Okay. So moving on, the possible new Park District projects that we've been asked.
Okay, so Marcy Glinsky reached out to us, and again, this is another thing that we have to approve in order to do it, but they have three new events, and they're looking to get our approval and then come up with ideas for it so they can, as soon as possible, so that they can get the information into their spring catalog. So the first project that she's talking about is a Fly a Kite Day and a seed ball event. So the way this works is they have kites manufactured that have logos of the Park District. I think it was a Lions Club, and in this case, they're asking us to be a participant in the event, and so they would put their logo on there. Last year, they each paid $126 for the kites. So if there's 3 of us, this time it would go down, and that's, you know, it's something I guess we'd be willing to cover if worse comes to worse. But I think it could be fun to have a bunch of kids with kites that have logo on it and stuff. So she said last year they had, when they did the actual kite day, it was just the most spectacular day, and everybody was flying kites, and it was really, really great.
Are you saying our logo would be on the kites too if we
Yes.
pitch in?
Yes.
Okay.
If we decide to do the event. In conjunction with that, they wanted us to set up a booth where we would come up with seed bombs, where the kids could make seed bombs. So seed bombs are balls that are embedded with native seeds, and the idea is that if you're riding along on a bike, you throw it in a ditch, and then native plants come up. So that was the first event. The second event is they're looking to do a native landscaping day. And so they're asking us if we'd be interested in doing some kind of a presentation around gardening with native plants, landscaping with native plants, natural lawn care,
This would all be in the spring.
anything of that nature. And if so, we need to choose a topic and go on with that. As far as the seed balls go, Agnes would have to figure out what seeds would be included. You've got issues with stratification, all kinds of other things. So she would have to come up, more than likely, it's going to be milkweed.
Well, not, I mean, the seed would have to be stratified, otherwise it's not gonna germinate in the spring, so we'd have to probably keep it refrigerated until the event, and do things, species that are pretty easy to grow, like maybe grasses, maybe common milkweed, something like
Yeah,
that,
brown incisions.
maybe.
I do think they should brand it as Go Fly a Kite Day.
I think that's what they call it.
No, I don't know,
I don't know.
we don't know the, like, exact specifics, I guess,
Yeah.
we're just discussing it to see if everybody's
I mean, it
interested and
sounds
on
like
board.
Solid idea.
And the third item is the new bird walks for the spring, and I've already given you
Yeah.
those dates, and that's something that we would always do anyway, so. Any feedback?
Well, again, the exposure, I think, is always good for the commission and to help educate the public about what we do and what we can do. And do we have the time and resources to do it?
I don't think we have to do anything other than give them artwork for the Fly Kite Day. I believe, if memory serves, Marcy said they had 236 kids participate last time.
Huh.
So it was a well-attended event. But I think only outside of supplying them with the logo, they take care of all those logistics. So it's just a matter of
And then seed.
figuring out what goes into the seed ball and what's the best way to make them. And
Is that actually a viable, workable thing for prairie plants?
Is it?
I don't, yeah, I mean, I know.
Kind
that
of
they-
radical.
Actually, they do it for like milkweeds. I've heard, I mean, I've read articles where they actually
the
have,
ride across still in
Yeah.
Iowa, they do that. They hand them out every morning.
and so cyclists especially who like travel long distances, they'll have a bag and they'll just literally throw out the balls. But obviously, not every plant is gonna be able to just germinate like gentians. If you
Right.
put them into a seed ball, you're not gonna throw it in and get a whole nice prairie field of gentians. But things that are easy to come in from seed, like grasses and some of the milkweed, especially like common milkweed. I mean, I have no idea where they're gonna put these seed balls, of course, you know,
Well, first step would be to get back to Marcy
Right.
if we approve this and say, okay, let's get some more specifics.
yeah. We
So
don't know all
let's
the
just talk
specifics.
about a number of speedballs. If there's 246 sites, right, then we need 246 seed balls?
Mhm.
But the idea is the kids would make them right there.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we
wouldn't
need
be-
a
we-
couple
We're
pounds.
not making them.
A couple pounds worth?
a few pounds of seed, yeah.
We could
Yeah.
spare that.
And then whatever the medium is, I don't, I have to research it, what's the best thing to bind them with. So,
And like, when would this happen?
Spring?
Spring. Not sure about dates yet.
Experiment Seed ball.
It sounds like fun. I
Disintegration.
mean, it sounds unique and clever and,
Yeah,
you know, a way to engage children, you
Sure.
know, in our mission.
well, we can have them crack open the pods and take out the seeds themselves, so we don't have to process the seeds, you know? Hold on to the milk.
If it- if
And we're
That's
assuming
still fun.
we're assuming every single kid will want to do it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Maybe they will, maybe half of them will. But I think it's a fun idea.
If it works, we could make it part of the nature camp if we're asked to do 10th week
Oh.
camp again.
If it works.
Mhm. Yeah, they have expressed desire for us to do that camp next year. It's not the case.
And that's tied in with this presentation, the native landscaping presentation. I
See,
think
but
that
our-
would be really useful for the parents who come.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's at the
The
same
same day
event.
or
I think it's a
different.
different.
Yeah.
day, a
Okay.
different
It's
event.
different.
All right.
Well, even so, still,
Either way.
But are we authorities to even
well, one of us.
suggest?
One of us is.
I mean, what if they come back and say, you said this and it didn't work?
Yeah, we do this.
Or,
And then
Yeah.
we made some inroads.
Well,
Yeah.
I think with the expertise between Agnes and Peter, for sure, you guys can put together a pretty
Yeah.
good garden.
yeah, about,
It would almost be,
Peter can do it
Dana,
himself.
a nice, like a Nature Speaks program, where you have, you know, maybe bring some people or maybe even a vendor or two in, because a lot of people don't know where to get these native plants. And show them how to do that. I mean, we can help them, for sure. but I think a lot of people are lacking a source to get, real good native plants. And there's a couple companies that do have speakers that would come in.
Like Pizzo or,
I also have one really good speaker about natural lawn care.
Okay.
I saw him at the Go Green Illinois, and I could reach out to that guy too.
Okay.
I like that.
He works for a company that's all they do, so.
well, I think we should find out what they mean by what they want us
All
to
right,
do,
I'll
whether
go
it's.
back and ask him more.
Okay.
Okay, but so far we seem receptive to the ideas as a
Yeah.
commission. Oh, okay, great.
All right, so I'll go ahead and pursue that with Marcy tomorrow. And then I'll get back to everybody.
Okay. All right, so next we have, I should have lumped it in to the previous, but Wheeling High School lecture. So Wheeling High School has asked us to do like an introductory lecture about what the PHNRC does and who we are. And it would be on November 13th at 8:30 a.m. at Wheeling High School. We've always just had them come out, but they sort of want to meet us. And there's no formal plan, educational plan for the year or anything like this. This would just be us coming in, talking about who we are, what we do, and then I guess they would decide whether they would want to work with us or volunteer or, whether,
Okay.
So that's a definite go?
yes,
Okay.
November 13th at 8:30 a.m. at Wheeling High School.
Are we going to group
Wednesday.
present that, or a single presenter, or what's the plan?
Whoever's available and whoever wants to do what,
It'll be similar to like the.
the SLU 101 presentation, we
Yeah.
just grab chunks of,
Right.
we
Okay.
have so many of those, we could probably just pick one and go with it.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I don't think it would be a big deal. We
Yeah.
can, I think it'd be nice to have a PowerPoint and some slides and pictures, and other than that, we could just talk.
What day of the week is that?
That is a
Wednesday.
Wednesday, November 13th.
That's an hour long, or what?
I'm not sure. Seth knows the
Maximum.
details. I'm sure maximum. It's probably like a class period or
Yeah.
something. Probably 40 minutes, 45, maybe 50 at the most. And it's good it's in the morning because that's burn season, so just in case.
Yeah.
It's on a Wednesday. So if anybody's interested in doing that, we still have a little bit of time to get it together. and-
Yeah,
I'll see
I'd
if
be
I can
interested in
make it.
helping out,
Okay.
if I can
Then we could work together on the
So
presentation.
John, you and Seth, and anybody else who wants to participate.
And Jill said she would
I'm
like to.
going to try to.
She's going to try to. And then I'll have Seth reach out to the teacher, see like if she has some specifics that maybe she would like to address, according to their syllabus or. Okay, great. Seed Processing Volunteer Appreciation Day, we were talking about November 17th or the 24th. 17th is our regularly scheduled workday. Poplar Creek is doing their seed processing on November 16th, which is a Saturday. Personally, I feel like the 17th would be better. If anybody wanted to participate in Poplar Creek on the Saturday, they could, and then their seed processing on a Sunday, then we don't have to,
Poplar Creek is going to be at the Bussing
Elk
Woods.
Grove.
right,
that
yeah, where they
place
did it
again.
last year. So.
It also brings up the other topic of Volunteer of the Year.
I have two suggestions. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, okay, so everybody just email me your suggestions, and I'll put a ballot together, and we'll send that out and get that done.
Did we do like a 1, 2, 3, or did we just give a person last? I think we did like a 1, 2, 3, didn't we?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay,
We'll just put them on the ballot and see what you think.
okay.
And we do not have a junior volunteer award this year. That
No.
was special for Lauren.
Yeah, that was the one thing.
All right, so let's just back up a second. So the seed processing volunteer appreciation day, is it going to be the 17th or the 24th?
That's what you have to decide.
I would opt for the 17th.
Okay.
Are you sure that's going to work for you?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, it would be our regular volunteer
It's our
workday
regular-
Yes,
anyway.
but you're planning to do Poplar Creek on the 16th, and then you have personal plans directly after? I mean, it takes
Personal-
coordination.
You know, the dog is coming on the 6th.
Forgot?
Like personal plans. Jill knows what I'm going to be doing.
No, that's not a problem. We'll figure that out.
No, it's okay. It's totally okay.
Because it takes, we have to get the
Yeah.
garage ready and.
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah,
working on the garage.
is,
I
has been totally
heard.
transformed.
I heard.
Yeah,
it.
it's like
Transforms.
40% done.
Okay.
We'll be 50 maybe.
What do you think, Pete?
Well, I work on Sundays, so I usually go to the Poplar Creek on the 16th. I missed the RC processing, but it's on a Sunday, so I work Sundays.
Do you think there's any possibility you could get off that Sunday?
They need people on Sunday. No one wants to work Sundays.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any possibility we switch it to a Saturday, like the 9th or the 23rd?
Then probably the 23rd. I would have to take 2 Saturdays off of work then.
It's good for you.
It's good for me. It's like my
Um,
busiest day of
I'm
the week.
either way. I'm either way.
23rd? I mean, Peter really needs to be
I can do
there.
it. I can take
It's fine with me.
2 Saturdays off.
So Saturday, the 23rd?
Why not?
All right, Saturday, the 23rd.
Would that work with our volunteers, though?
Sure.
Sure. How do you know? You don't know if they have
Because they don't have jobs.
Yeah, some of them do.
They're like Cubs fans.
No, okay, so.
I don't know. We'd have to ask, but I'm sure that it's not going to be that big a deal.
Should we ask them first?
Can certainly send it out.
Well, here's the
I would
thing with
assume.
asking, you're gonna get a lot of people, no matter what day, you just gotta pick a day.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Assign a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so November
Saturday,
23rd.
November 23rd.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
From 9 to 12,
Yay.
right?
yeah.
9 to 12.
Well, that's also good because it gives us
Time.
time.
Yeah.
And
But
if
then
you have any burns that
burns, yeah.
need to be addressed.
All right, and so be sure to send me your nominations.
Mhm.
But it gives us an extra work day event on the
No,
17th,
we can break.
which might be burn season,
Yes.
so. Okay, good. Great. The monitoring program reports.
For the Sedge Meadow, it's basically status quo, and I wanted to ask you if you were planning any seed collecting there with the sedges, because the day that we wanted to, it rained and we couldn't, so.
Yeah, we collected a lot of them. A lot of them are sort
We're
of passed
okay?
already, so not really. Maybe like if, I would go for like 20 minutes just to collect a couple of things that are
Okay,
more rare, but not really for a work day or
okay.
seed collection. Anybody else have anything to say about?
I can, for St. Al's, well, like Jill, it is the status quo. It still looks awesome. I am excited about that as a possible burn site, because even though we've done one burn there before, it wasn't optimal, but it sure seems like there's going to be some excellent fuel,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
so I think, we would have, again, depending on the conditions, but in general, better success this time.
Yeah.
Comet Prairie is the east panel there. We've talked about this already. First of all, it's going to be burned, so that's terrific. There are big patches on the east side that have just gone completely invasive and weedy. The plan is to take those out. So next Wednesday, the 16th,
Mention.
we're going to do a special workday for anybody that's available from 9 in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll provide lunch. So anybody who's around who's available
Anytime.
and wants to participate.
Even if it's for an
What we're
hour.
looking to do is to take out those invasives with size, brush cutters, whatever it is, and then have Agnes herbicide those
Certain
areas. And there are also huge patches that the girls this summer have already prepared where everything has been herbicided, so that when it comes time to burn it, all that stuff's going to be finally gone. And so when we lay down seed after the burn,
gonna
and
be-
it gets buried under the snow.
It'll be
it's
pure
gonna be
seed
pure
soil
seed,
contact.
Pure seed soil contact with a good, healthy dose of ash. So that's the status there.
On a good note over there, I just went through there today, and those purple asters are exploding in
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And it is absolutely stunning. Get over there and take a look. It's incredible, yeah.
Yay.
Okay. Marava, Peter?
Yeah, I was there yesterday. I don't know if you most people have seen the new signs. They put nice posts in with metal signs. Really, really is attractive. The signs are really permanent, and they're very informative and interesting for the kids. I guess it's called the library walk.
The
or a
story
nature-
Story walk.
Story walk. I guess with the Park District and the library, but it really adds something to the nature preserve there. The paths need some wood chips. Hopefully, we can get some wood chips before the winter sets in. Otherwise, it's going to really be sloppy come spring.
Right.
But everything seems to be trimmed up, and it's nice. It really is nice, Morava.
Heron Pond's underwater. So when we get a lot of rain, it's just the whole the whole access is pretty much blocked by a pretty deep pond. So I haven't really been back there in at least a week, but everything is pretty much status quo over there.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, I forgot to add one other really tremendous thing at the ComEd Prairie. In addition to removing those invasives and burning it, Fermilab is donating another 80 pounds of prairie mix. It's the same prairie mix that we put in the west that's now 3 years old and looks really tremendous. So they've donated that to the cause. In return, we're going to grow a few plants for them, and we're going to give them some seed that they're looking for
It's on their wish list,
on their wish list that we have. So it's a
but it's
little
nowhere near 80 pounds.
Right, nowhere near 80 pounds.
So they have a
And then-
combine where they combine the seeds, and so they just, they'll give out like 300-pound,
Yeah,
huge.
300-pound bag, so your
But it's a
choice is
trade, it's not-
300-pound bag or a 40-pound bag.
Wow.
So that's really tremendous,
It's
and they're
really
really good
great.
people.
Yes.
They're also telling us that we can bring our penstemon out, run it through the mill, so we don't have to process that, so. Yay for me, man.
Yay,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really great. It's another reason we can clear a little bit more those areas that are weedy on the east side. That's great. Okay, ad hoc Willow Road Committee meeting.
I haven't seen anything posted as, they did not hold their meeting on September 23rd.
Yeah,
And-
I was the only one there.
How'd it go?
Yeah, that was never
It's-
happened, so, yeah.
Yeah, I just have to keep an eye on the schedule.
Yeah.
Look at it every
Yeah.
few
I do
days.
too.
Mhm.
And McDonald Creek Commission did schedule a meeting for September 24th, but they canceled it, and their next meeting is scheduled for October 22nd.
Okay,
They lost one of their main guys too, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
The Prospect Heights Park District Board of Directors meeting, I realize now, I think, what this was about, but, so Christina has asked us to formulate a sort of, well, first of all, to give a presentation at their November 19th board meeting, and this will be a presentation sort of a year-to-date of PHNRC activities across all their sites. She also asked me to come up with sort of an estimate of the expenditures for each site individually, so that we could see, and this would include also volunteer hours and, seeds collected for a site and plants grown and all of these things, so that we can give them an estimate of, how much each project costs, and so that we can formulate a budget proposal to the Park District Board. And
That's good.
yeah, it is. And so then, once we formulate a budget proposal to the Park District Board, it'll be easier also because their budget proposals come before the city, so we'll already have sort of a packet for the Park District. It'll be easier for us to put together one for the city, to go before the city.
So, that brings up a good point then as far as future budgeting and tabulating our expenses. We should try to be vigilant about doing that as it happens, as
Early.
opposed to doing it retrospectively, which takes a lot of time and energy, I think. You would know better than anybody.
I agree. It's-
So, if we have expenditures that we're using on a particular site,
Right.
then let's just get that down in a spreadsheet, like that day or that
Right.
weekend or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
it's there.
And then hours and.
Hours, the whole thing.
Hours is a big one. I feel like we don't do that enough, like.
Because
We-
we're automatic. We'll
Right.
just do it.
Well, there's a ton of
Right.
administrative hours that go
Documented.
undocumented, and I think, yeah, we should,
Yeah.
that needs to
I
be.
think each one of us, every time we do something, you know, like Ed, when you were working on the press release, right, I just on a little sheet of paper, how long that took you, the date, and each one of us
Okay.
just keeps a
I
log.
mean, I could put together a shared spreadsheet on Google, and everybody can have access to it, and you can just log in your hours.
That's a
when
good
you-
idea.
When you want.
That's a good idea.
You
Yeah.
know, if you're
Really
sitting at
good
home and you're
idea.
doing the, you know, this or that, and, you know, that's volunteer time right there.
Right.
And it counts. I mean, so, and it would just be really easy to pull it up on a Google Doc and just enter it, click the button, and you're done. And at the end of the year, it's all tallied.
We have on all the time sheet, I mean, all the volunteer sign-in sheets, we have identified where we were and what we were doing.
Yeah.
That's consistent all the way.
And
through.
I've put together, right, and also when we had the interns, this is actually really good. I would write every single day what the interns are doing, where they are, how much time they spent there. So I had logged all of that, and I actually put that into a spreadsheet of exactly how much time, exactly how much time the interns spent at each of the sites. And so we know exactly how many hours during the summer. We know exactly how many volunteer hours were spent at this site, this site, this site. We could even do percentages, pie charts, all, we could do a whole bunch of things to see, you know, how much and how much
She has,
of time and energy are.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah,
It's a
it's-
spreadsheet?
It's in the works. It's not
Oh, okay.
100%. As soon as I get it completed, I'll forward it to you guys.
The information about the interns was part of her
Reporting to
Mark.
Public
Yeah.
Works,
Public
to
Works.
Mark. So every Sunday night, I would put together, you know, where the whole week, and exactly hour by hour, where I planned on having them, and then if anything changed during the week, I would update that and let him know.
well, that's another thing I think we could probably put in a Google Doc format, and then have, you know, the commission can have access to that.
That's a great idea.
And it can be ready to go for the next batch of interns, and I'd be happy to put those spreadsheets
Yes,
together.
that would be great.
Let me see, you know,
Then we all have access to it, and we can always see like what's going
Right.
on, and,
It's really good.
spreadsheet.
yeah. So as soon as I get, you know, I'd say it's like 80% done, and then as soon as I get it together, I'll forward it to you guys before I meet with her, but that's what the meeting would be in the end of October with Christina Ferraro to discuss this. And then we would present to the Park District Board on November 19th.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and proactive nature management.
Okay,
plans.
so as far as the proactive management plan goes, I pulled out tonight all of the master plans for all of the sites. And so I don't know if you guys remember, but we have a master
3
plan.
years
It's
ago.
formatted and it's tells basically of the tasks at hand, the state of the site and the work that's intended to do there and when we're going to do it and how we're going to do it.
It's something that we presented for the city, like, I
Correct.
think 3 years ago. or-
Right. So I'm looking to update all that stuff, and at some point, we should probably make a presentation to the city and to the Park District on the status of things.
Well, the status of things, what they're
Yeah.
asking us to do on the
Right.
19th, so.
Right.
But they want like a year in review, but we can also incorporate part of the management plans into that.
That's for Park District. City is not requesting that at this point, or?
Well, I
No.
think we should do it.
Well,
No,
I'm
I'm
just
just saying
saying do it.
Yeah.
proactively,
All
let's
right,
just.
yeah.
Proactively, we can present,
But
make a
it's-
year in
I mean,
review.
Those
and
plans need to be updated anyway, because we're another
It's a
year
different- yeah.
down the road, so.
Do you need help with that, Dana?
No, it's all formatted, it's just a matter of sitting down and knowing, putting down what I know.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll look to have that ready to go for the November meeting and dismiss it or distribute it in advance. Visitor comments?
And then
No visitors.
A motion to adjourn?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.